Lycans and gentlemen, children of the night, nocturnals, night terrors, and all things that go bump in the night. Welcome to your monthly treatment of shock therapy. The doctor will see you now. Consider me your night watchman for this evening's festivities here at the Mind's Eye Theater. We invite you to violate curfew with me for this graveyard shift. I am your horror host Inkarnate for this sold-out show. Join me tonight is nobody. Traumadom couldn't make it. That's all right. We'll catch him next week or in the following month. This is the Mind's Eye Theater and the last watch party for the month of April. And God, what a month it's been. So, initially, I thought that this was our first dark fantasy. But when I looked into it, in point and fact, it's actually our fourth. We had Hocus Pocus 2, we had Antlers, and Leprechaun. Now, as far as where we're watching this tonight, Disney Plus streaming service, this is our third Disney Plus watch party after, again, Hocus Pocus 2 and Werewolf by Night. It should have been our fifth because Disney Plus should have added Disney Halloween Treat for its 40th anniversary, plus Deep Rising for its 25th anniversary. But don't get me started on all that. So, yes, thank you for coming in late, Buzzer. This is it for the Easter Feaster. I started the month, all month, as a celebration of all things horror for the month of April. You wouldn't think that April would be so chock full of events, of horror opportunities, but lo and behold, it absolutely was. Not only that, you might be asking yourself, why Return to Oz? Simple. So, obviously, April is known for, nobody celebrates April Fools, like, let's be honest, except immature people who call me with a corny prank that is eye-rolling, but that's neither here nor there. So, April is known for Easter, Easter Bunny. What more popular icon than can you have attributed to that than Alice in Wonderland, the March Hare and the White Rabbit? Now, to me, fantasy has always had the top two pillars in that genre. I call them the fantasy twins. It's don't get your head out of the gutter. It would be Alice in Wonderland and Return to Oz and Wizard of Oz. So on the Alice in Wonderland side, I played all month long Alice Madness Returns. And additionally, as part of the Mind's Eye Radio, I was doing narrations of the story of the Twisted Land of Oz. So this was actually supposed to be part of the Easter, if not the Easter weekend, then at the very least at the very beginning of April. But oh my God, we had we had the 15-year anniversary to start the month for The Ruins. And then the same week we had Critters, the 35th anniversary watch party. And then I believe it was the week after we had not Critters. It was Evil Dead, the 10-year anniversary of that. Return to Oz is not celebrating an anniversary, but I in order to space things out and not completely overwhelm myself, because this month has been just utterly insane for content, I decided to put this at the tail end. And it's fitting because technically the first piece of, no, it actually is. It does fall in sync. The first piece of content that I came out with for the Easter Feaster April Horror event was the first chapters of Twisted Land of Oz, and the follow-up was a watch party. So it's only fitting that we return to that franchise to do a watch party for Return to Oz. Now, as far as film rating, we have the following options for your viewing displeasure. A little something I like to call the totem pole, which, lovely. Okay. All right. Is it good? Can't stop having technical errors. Sorry for this. Give me a second. It'll get there. All right, the totem pole is misbehaving for tonight. So your options are bottom of the burial. Hold on, one quick second. Bottom of the burial. Then as a mid-level, you have the shallow grave, and then as a high, you have high stakes. Now, for me, I would have to, because I think this is a very underrated film. In case anyone is wondering, this film was never intended to be a sequel or rely on the 1933 original. 1939 original. That was never the case. So, as I'll be getting to later on in the trivia, that kind of has like saddled this film. Now, even though I do think it's very underrated, I'm not one of those people that automatically thinks that that any film that is underrated automatically is like the greatest thing ever. No, I would not say that. It's interesting that this rendition in tone is much more faithful to the book than what is considered obviously the most popular edition of this, which is again the 1939 film. I would give this, as someone who has seen it before and as someone who is a fan of this film, I would give it a fair shallow grave. Now, don't let shallow grave fool you. It is a mid-level rating. And that's not taking away from this film at all. I think it's a very solid dark fantasy. I very much enjoy it. There are interesting twists and how can I put this? There are interesting twists to this. There are interesting how can I put it? Places that this goes. I very much enjoy it. I think it's a solid film. If anyone knows me, you should know that I absolutely adore dark fantasy. I think that it is very underrated. It shocks me that people like seemingly don't appear to understand the value of dark fantasy. I will continue to look upon dark fantasy as what's the word I'm looking for? The gateway genre. I think that it is very important to horror. I think it's a great way to get people what's the word I'm looking for? To get people at a young age to enjoy horror, and it should be considered more lighthearted than anything that would be darker. but obviously darker than anything that's like traditional fantasy, such as Lord of the Rings. That's a big reason. I mean, obviously, Game of Thrones isn't for kids, but that's a big contributor over why it is that I like Game of Thrones, because it does show that darker side. So I would give this a mid shallow grave rating. And again, don't let shallow grave fool you. That's not taking away from this film at all. So let's see. Along with my rating, now, dear viewers, you can vote as well. I just put up the totem poll in the YouTube chat that I'll be keeping up all stream long to spotlight viewer impressions for the film throughout the broadcast, as well as for the convenience of any new joiners that are showing up late to the watch party. So, naturally, I invite you to stream the film along with me. Queue it up on Disney Plus, as I mentioned before. Let me take care of a couple housekeeping items, and I'll be providing timestamps throughout the watch party to make sure that your viewing experience is synced up with mine, as well as for the convenience of anyone joining casually late to the party. So, this watch party, as well as all streams, is brought to you by or in partnership with Hotness TV. If you're in the market for either Jabra headsets or Samsung devices, we do have a sponsorship link with both in the description of this video. So, I mean, what more needs to be said about Samsung? Their products run the gamut from TVs, tablets, cell phones, sound bars, surround sound home theaters, 4K Blu-ray players. It's easy for me to recall all of these because I own all of these. They populate my living room, except for the sound bar. That's in the bedroom. As far as Jabra headsets, they offer in-ear earbuds, over-the-head headsets, and audio conference equipment. The Mind's Eye Theater is a proud affiliate of the upcoming horror documentary Mental Health and Horror. I am an absolute sucker for anthologies as well as documentaries, so I'm eagerly looking forward to this, to watch it for my own enjoyment, as well as to be able to review it for my channel, for the main Mind's Eye channel. So, the link up top, if you're in a mood, is paypal.com/inkarnate if you want to support the channel in other ways. I'll just consider it your pound of flesh. The streaming service that we use to stream all of our broadcasts is streamlabs.com, and they were nice enough to give us a merch store, which I would happily implore you to support the channel that way. Streamlabs.com/mindgamesinc/merch. Don't be like Tramadom, buy a shirt. So, we are coming to you live, streaming on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble. Damn straight. So, I hate to mention this, but when it's full power to social media censors, advisories must be made. If you're watching, two key items. Firstly, if the watch party gets cut off, as has been the case in the past, I'm happy to say that we've cleared those issues up, but just in the event, you can catch me on any of the other streams that are available that we're streaming on. So if anything gets cut off on Facebook, which is what you're watching through, you can catch us on Twitch, ideally either on Rumble or YouTube. And obviously the links are in the description. Secondly, the following day, I will repost any interrupted Mind's Eye theaters on YouTube. It'll just appear as a regular video instead of a stream. So, with all that, stay tuned until the end. I just have a couple of news items that I want to get to. So, therefore, without further ado, I now offer you the following creature presentation. Now is the point I would usually throw at the Tramadom, but today I'm riding solo. So, cue it up, and we are playing the movie now. And hopefully, because it's Disney Plus, we're not going to get an avalanche of obnoxious video ads. Oh, no, we're jumping right in. Awesome. I remember seeing this movie and like being bewildered because I'm just like, is it? How is Dorothy a kid when she was clearly like a teenager in the version of Wizard of Oz that we all know? So it did confuse me in that regard, and they do have a scarecrow in this one, Jack, I think he's called. So I was like, even though it confused me in that regard, I still very much enjoyed it. I consider Return to Oz a special 80s trinity of dark fantasy, which also includes legend. Oh, look who we have, Fariza Balk. I include I think of a dark fantasy trilogy that, strangely enough, nobody speaks of. When it comes to dark fantasy of the 80s decade, Return to Oz, Legend, and what's the third one? Willow. I almost forgot that one. In terms of the 80s, I personally also consider The Golden Child, Eddie Murphy's The Golden Child, dark fantasy as well. It's just that it's more comedic, but all the ingredients are there. Even if the tone isn't, as dark as one would expect. Old Man River. In case you noticed, well, who wouldn't, because this is a Disney film, this was the first film to use that Walt Disney Pictures logo with the rainbow going over the blue castle. Uh-oh, who's that there? Electric healing. What a delightful way to talk about electroshock therapy. I don't trust that, darn it, that floozy. It's not charity, it's an all-purpose loan. 20% interest. Biden economics, everybody. Uh-oh. Well, now that Auntie Anne mentioned that, the ruby slippers, in a little bit of trivia, in order to include the ruby slippers as part of this film, Disney actually had to pay royalties to MGM, which produced The Wizard of Oz 1939. Now, you might be asking yourself, why the hell for slippers they would have to pay royalties? Well, it's simple. Despite the fact that stories like The Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland are in the public domain, the ruby slippers did not appear in the L. Frank Baum's original novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Those were invented for the 1939 film to better take advantage of the newly developed Technicolor. Interestingly enough, in The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, Dorothy actually wears a pair of magical silver shoes, which were lost when she used them to return to Kansas. If you watched my Twisted Land of Oz, they actually returned to the silver shoes, not the ruby slippers. In the subsequent novel, Ozma of Oz, one of the books on which this film is based, Dorothy and her friends meet the Gnome King, who possessed a magical belt with properties similar to those of the silver shoes. And they probably should have done that in this movie for the simple fact that, well, you'll see why a belt would have been better for... That's cool. It looks like a no smoking sign, but we'll ignore that. The early drafts of the script for Return to Oz reflected this, with the Gnome King cutting up the ruby slippers to make his magical ruby belt. That's a key to the outhouse, silly girl. If this little girl appears familiar, as I mentioned, this is Farisa Balk. She was the girl in the main witch in The Craft. So she always had like this haunting presence to her. It's funny because she and Nev Campbell didn't want to be typecast, and I 100% get that. But oh my god, Farisa Balk played such a great villain, and it's odd that she's not. I actually like, even though people like know her from that, you don't know what her name is. And I would say that The Craft is a cult classic, but you would think that she would just be a bigger deal of the 90s. And maybe her star got overshadowed. Interesting turn of phrase. Maybe her star got overshadowed because of the popularity of Scream. But just a thought. Oh no, he busted his leg. We gotta take him out to pasture later tonight. See, the outhouse is right over there. That's what she found the key for. Not for nothing, but did they ever just hear about a child with an imagination that they're going not only to see a therapist, but electroshock therapy is what entices them to take her there? Okay. Oh wait, Toto. Yeah, I was just like, even though I don't recall seeing too many prequels as a child, I wondered, like, how did Dorothy get younger compared to, again, the movie that came before it. Plus, one little factoid that you might find amusing about me: when I was a kid, I thought that movies, like, I had no perception of time. So I just assumed that movies that came out, when I saw them, I just thought that that's like around the time that they came out. I didn't realize, even in the 80s, how old the original Wizard of Oz was. Like, I remember my mind being completely blown when you find out that, like, Snow White and all these Disney movies are a hell of a, like, they came out in like the 50s or whenever. I was just completely shocked by that. The movie's based on the second and third of L. Frank Baum's Oz books, The Marvelous Land of Oz, and Ozma of Oz. So elements from the former include the introduction of Jack Pumpkinhead, the witch Mombi, and her powder of life, the conquest of the Emerald City, the escape of the flying sofa, the search of Princess Ozma. The former Ozma of Oz, the latter Ozma of Oz, comes the return of Dorothy, the talking chicken Bellina, the Wheelers, the discovery of TikTok, no, not the communist infiltration software, a princess with interchangeable heads, and the introduction of the Gnome King, as well as the ornament room. Which Annie M stole. Probably for her husband. Look how haunting her eyes are. Jesus. It's like you're talking to a child cat. She was freaky even as a kid. Wow. I've always known that she had like a ghostly presence, but really, guys, look at her eyes when she's just like right there. Jesus. Freaky. And mind you, I'm someone that I find green eyes attractive. Obviously not in children, but her eyes are deeply haunting. Oh, goody. I can't wait. Does it come with a spike that you could hammer into my nostril? You see it? And these are the arms with extendable accordion wires that is gonna pump you full of electric shocks. Here, he wants to give you a hug with 85 volts straight to your chest. Oh God, poor thing. No, it'll tickle, and your hair will stare on it. Will stand on end. And by the way, you're gonna forget math. Oh wow, I forgot that this took place in the 19th century. What I find interesting is that these dark takes of, as I mentioned, Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, this dark take, Return to Oz, and American McGee's Alice and Alice Madness Returns, they both deal with like trauma, like childhood trauma, and therapy, which I find that interesting, like, a common thread between them. Yeah, call it that. Jesus. Gee, I wonder if it was intentional to have her look like the witch, although she might be playing Mombi. Look at her. You would like if you didn't know this movie, you would swear that she's playing another version of the Wicked Witch. And bite down hard on that ice pop stick when they when they jam your head full of happy thoughts, let's call it. I'm not coming to get you. You're stuck here. I had seen I saw this as a kid, but I don't remember what age I was when I rewatched it, and it was probably afterwards that I even realized, and well after my teenagehood was like the second time I saw this, that it wasn't afterwards until I realized that this was Farisa Balk from The Craft. I had rewatched this as a teenager after I had seen The Craft. On what? The dusty table full of asbestos? Is there even a bed in there? Oh, there is. Okay. Bye bye. Nice knowing you. Aw. Mind introducing yourself? To take the bad thoughts out. Why are you here? Oh, I'm actually not. I'm a figment of your imagination. Aw. That's because you got a case of the cuckoo head. That's reassuring. She didn't even use the door. How rude. Yeah. Keep telling yourself that you're not here. That you're. They got the wrong guy. Another bit of trivia. Disney actually fired director Walter Murch about a week into production due to budget concerns. The studio found his dailies just not living up to snuff, and they felt that his shooting pace was far too slow, which discourage them for the film. Murch actually contacted, get this, his friends Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg, and George Lucas for help. And credit to them, all three directors lobbied Disney to rehire Murch. Lucas going so far as to offering to take over directing himself should Murch fall behind schedule. Murch finished the film on schedule, though while in post-production, the studio management had changed. Oh my god. The new executives had little faith in the movie. They doomed it with limited promotion and a short theatrical run. So, way to go, Disney. God, did they really need a gurney? Well, then again. Oh my god. Jesus. Because in your face. Oh, you're taking a different ride now. Oh my god. That's creepy. The the bed sheet that they have over her. Where did she wake up? The movie Fire in the Sky? Oh my god. She looks past other inmates and their heads are like shaking back and forth like in Jacob's Ladder. God. That screeching or shrieking of wheels. Yeah, for real. Ah, nothing at all. Earmuffs. You're gonna listen to XM radio. So says you. This is Hot 97. Give us a listen. Oh god, it's Megan Thee Stallion. Turn it off. I don't think your robot agrees. Oof. Talk about the nick of time. I'm picking up white noise. Oh, Jesus. Now she's hearing all the inmates. Strange how the noises of Silent Hill were quiet before, but now it's all the rage. Wow. Honestly, could there be a worse nightmare scenario for a kid? Damaged, wow. Aw. She should have waved her arms. She should have flailed her arms like Sydney in Scary Movie. What conveniently placed bed sheets? In the middle. Well done. Oopsie. So. No alarms, even for a loony bin? Oh, you brats! You're gonna make me chase you in my knickers. Sorry, I missed it. We just crossed the 20-minute mark. So, remember, guys, if you could hit the like button, it just helps this the stream get recommended to other people. And be sure to comment. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to comment or vote in the totem poll what your rating for the film is. Screw it! She's like, that, the hell with it. You rotten kids. Yeah, they'll be fine. What? A bed frame? Or a cage, I guess. Careful of splinters. And she sailed all night. Beware of any beach balls. And any guys named Tom Hanks. I forgot how funny. You're asking me, it's your acid trip. Except, well, Michael B. Jordan. He's a looker, ain't he? And the world, for that matter. Oh, yeah, this is that. Oh, also, Neverending Story also came out in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. That does deserve a reboot. This film received a mention in the Guinness Book of World Records as a sequel that was made the longest period of time after the original. So this came out 46 years after The Wizard of Oz of 1939. Bambi Part 2, The Great Prince of the Forest in 2006 broke that record, releasing 64 years after the original Bambi from 1942. Yeah, that's another one. Like, when Bambi came out, I was like, yeah, again, you're a kid, so you have no understanding of time. So you think, like, what you think when you watch these movies, that's the year that they came out in. Talking about the budget, originally the Scarecrow, Tin Woodsman, and the Cowardly Lion were to have a more prominent role in the movie, but due to budget cuts, they were for their appearances were reduced to mere cameos, and at the end, uh-oh. Good thing that she was smart enough to use those stones, because we'll see a little later what happens if she wouldn't have. Uh-oh. Make sure not to pick those. The Red Queen will get on your case. Lunch pail tree? That must be from the book. I don't remember that in the movie. In the original movie. Those have worms in them. That's funny. Look out, little girl. You're being stalked by Clayface. Ew. Yeah, me too. It's an actual pail. Is that a letter? I owe you one meal. Ah, funny. She sounded disappointed. Oh, I was trying to get to Vegas. I was gonna be a star. Good. Uh-oh. Good heavens. Anything but that. That's one thing that I've always... one of these eons I need to get to... I actually own, I believe, the first book. I've heard that the tone is actually darker, but obviously, but I would very much like to see like the different areas of Oz. Not just the Emerald City. Gee. Thank you for that exposition. It'd be funny if if the curled up feet were still there. And over there was the latrine. What? They cannibalized themselves. There was a cartoon when I was a kid that had... It was like something like the Yellow Brick Road was being eaten or something. I don't know. To me, it's very symbolic in these dark portrayals when, I don't know, the Yellow Brick Road is corrupted somehow. Like it's just a foreboding sign, and the Yellow Brick Road is obviously so iconic to the story that if ever it's broken in some way, I always find that interesting that they have that here in the cartoon that I just mentioned, where some creature was like devouring the Yellow Brick Road, and then in the Twisted Land of Oz, it's almost like what do you call it? In Twisted Land of Oz, it's like faded somehow. But I do like the idea of like competing factions in Oz. Uh-oh. That's promising. And the fact that it, like, in this version, it looks pushed up, like something had been burrowing underneath, I think is an interesting touch. Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize that they got to Emerald City this quickly. Beware the wheelers. Stupid. Oh, don't worry. They're not far behind. These, even though I found the Wheelers weird, it's interesting hearing how other people were totally freaked out by them. And it's always interesting what it is that freaks people out. I guess that's part of the appeal of dark fantasy. Like, it throws what is established or what we think is lore or doctrine of any of these stories. It takes that and it always like turns it on its head. Like, it's a very bold move to, corrupt the yellow brick road and shake things up as far as, excuse me, taking out, or yeah, just taking out Oz. Oh boy, here we go, taking out Oz in a way that they have. Save yourself. God, those must be uncomfortable as all hell. Now that I'm obviously older, the laughs and the sounds that they make are a little eerie. Why are they tiptoeing closer? They're on wheels. God. Krusty the Clown. Gee, had we just been faster. The dreads coming out of the helmet are also kind of... Ooh. Who's the Gnome King? This guy. Yeah, their movement is very, it's, these kind of serve like a good replacement, to the flying monkeys. So, Pons Mar, who plays the lead wheeler, was one of the asylum orderlies. He provided the voice of the gnome messenger, the face in the rock that you keep seeing, and also served as a movement coach on the film, working to develop the postures and the movement of the Scarecrow and Jack the Pumpkinhead. everything you say. Yeah, that was like a couple of the things like that confused me because I'm like, is this the Tin Man? And then like I said before, they have a instead of the scarecrow, they have a different scarecrow with a jack-o'-lantern head, which just made me wonder like are these just the same characters of a different name? So there was actually a gymnast called Michael Sundin who stood upside down with his legs bent backwards inside in order to operate this character, his body, and move the legs. Well, my maintenance tab is on you to pay now. Probably getting his rocks off in the harlot's chamber. He mentioned something about stiff wood. Thank you for winding me up. Can's ass. Yes, there was a man in there upside down. I'll steal your identity and send it to communist countries. Aw. Oh yeah, he's like a general or something in the army of Oz, if I remember correctly. The director of this invited George Lucas to visit the set one day. During that visit, Lucas wandered to a different soundstage, and he came across a producer by the name of Rick McCallum working on a small film, and the two of them became friends and later collaborated on the Star Wars prequels. He looks and moves like those stupid robots from The Fifth Element. God, I hate that movie. Oh, them wheelers. Here goes nothing. Simpletons. He's just missing like a boxing glove. But I can break your femur bone. We just crossed the 40-minute mark, so if you could please remember to like the video as well as vote in the totem poll in the YouTube chat. Bobby! That is a good backdrop. God. Again, the Wheelers are an interesting substitute for the flying monkeys. Yeah, like I said, Walter Murch, he never wanted this film to be seen as a direct sequel to The Wizard of Oz. Instead, he intended it as a partial sequel with some direct references, like, you know, the Ruby Slippers, the setup where they have actors playing characters in Oz and the real world, but in closer similarity to the Oz novels. For instance, the appearance of the Oz characters, Oz being a real place as opposed to a dream, and the misconception that the film was ever meant to emulate the MGM original is what probably contributed to the failure at the box office, which that's really hard to debate. This was actually the directorial debut of Walter Murch. For most of his career was known as an editor, and as of 2015, it remains his only film that he's ever directed. No one calls me that anymore. And she would kind of can be looked at as something of a replacement for the Wicked Witch. That is a very interesting costume. These evil characters always seem to have like this feathered kind of gown, for lack of a better word, or chest piece. Uh-oh. Yeah, this is... And I don't know, I honestly don't think that any other character in fiction, with the exception of the Headless Horseman, this theme isn't visited very often, like the thought of a character that uses multiple heads. The fact that it blinked at her. Oh, me? That I'm in a nightmare? Wow, that locking sound. Oh, God. Wow, thanks, lady. Oh, jeez. Well, that took a turn. Slowly, waddling, gradually, protecting. That was a lovely fail there, TikTok. No chickens were hurt in the making of this film. She just throws the chicken. That's great. What a bitch. Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to keep this family friendly. What a meanie poo. So when the desolate Emerald City was first seen, there's a close-up of a bas-relief portrait of a creature with a lion's head, a monkey's body, and an eagle's wings. So this was a faithful reproduction of John R. Neal's portrait of an aptly named creature, Lemonig, which appeared on the back of The Magic of Oz, an Oz tale by L. Frank Baum, first released mere weeks after the latter's death in 1919. Chickens flying. Poppycock. The character of the movie's version of Princess Mombi is based on that of Princess Langwidere in L. Frank Baum's Ozma of Oz, who ruled in the land of Ev across the deadly desert of Oz. As in this movie, Langwidere had regularly changed her head and locked Dorothy in a tower room of the palace. See, it's things like that, you know, very easily, this is what I thought was the Scarecrow, very easily can be seen as, you know, just like copy pastes or different versions of it. But I don't know, it doesn't come off as that. And obviously there was the obviously these are based off of books, but it's not the Wheelers, like I mentioned before, of can be seen as different versions of the flying monkeys. You have Jack here, who's not who's a scarecrow, but not the one that she remembers. Mombi can be looked at as a version of the Wicked Witch, but each of these characters is different enough that it doesn't seem like a rehashing. For the right price. You know, all this maintenance is awfully, it's gonna cost you. So stop fussing about it. You don't say. So, at the time that this came out, it turns out that cartoonist Tim Burton acknowledged Jack Pumpkinhead as an inspiration for the iconic character of Jack Skellington in A Nightmare Before Christmas. I always thought it funny that this guy, this scarecrow, calls a little girl his mom. It's kind of like how when, you know, little girls have dolls for themselves and they consider themselves like their kids. I just thought that was a funny touch. She left with this guy that was really sus that she met off of Tinder. Haha, funny. Or clever, I should say. Ooh. Sneaky. Very sneaky. Shut the hell up! That was a little creepy, that rictus smile. Now shut the hell up already. So, the Scarecrow was originally supposed to have a fully articulated animatronic face, similar to that of the Gump. However, once again, budget cuts reared their ugly head, and the puppeteers had to reduce his face to basically a series of masks with affixed expressions. Don't talk down to me. Turns out that Emma Ridley, who plays Ozma, the little girl princess, she also auditioned for the role of Dorothy. Other actresses who auditioned for the role were actually, get this, Drew Barrymore, Alanis Morissette, Tony Ann Gisandi, I don't know who that is, Elizabeth Berkley, and Juliette Lewis. I'm glad that it went to Farisa Balk, but it would have been interesting had Drew Barrymore been in it. Steals her wallet. Is she really asleep in that enormous getup that she had worn? Oh, Jesus. She turns over to take a swig of vodka. Because she's wearing the head of what's her name? Chelsea Handler. Yeah, this kind of like... This was just too way out there for me. Like a living couch. I was like, huh? Why? Jesus, he's tweaking. Oh boy. What is she doing here again? So Farisa Balk won the role of Dorothy out of literal tens of thousands of girls who had auditioned worldwide. That I didn't know. Oh, that's what she's looking for, the life elixir or whatever. And here's the stuff of nightmares. Oh God. Yeah. And that's what
Emotional damage.
this was the stuff on Nightmare. Surprisingly, that this scene didn't freak me out as a kid. Is that the opium den? It's always so funny, like what freaks, like certain things that freak people out and certain things that don't. Like it's obviously unsettling now. Wow. It's funny. It's funny how all the people characters are like monsters. The Wheelers, Mombi, and like the creatures are actually the good guys in this. A bit too much. Read the directions, silly goose. There you go. This headless scene kind of reminds me from Beetlejuice when Alec Baldwin, his headless body's just like running around. A flying moose head couch. If this were to be remade in a modern, in a modern, in a modern film, it would be interesting to see the portrayal of Mombi. More, it would be interesting to see if they expand the character in interesting ways. I almost feel like we don't get too much time with her. Yeah, about 20 minutes out of an almost 2-hour film. No. They're just hanging out there. Yeah, they have wings, we have wheels. I wonder what the deal with chickens was. I get that this is like a backwards land where not anything is gonna make sense, but still. R. So when Return to Oz was released in June of '85, only 2 members of the 1939 film main cast are still alive: Ray Bolger, the Scarecrow, and Pete Walsh, the lead flying monkey. Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch, had passed away in May, so just 1 month before. Okay, we're gonna hit the 1 hour mark in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you could hit the like button, guys, and make sure to vote in the totem poll what your film rating is. Do they have any peanuts on this flight? Funny. Good night, Mom. Ah, called it. I think this is it for this character, because I don't think she's in the rest of the movie. Poppycock. Oh. So Judy Garland was actually younger than I thought when she filmed Wizard of Oz. Judy Garland was 16 when she shot the 1939 movie. Farisa Balk was only 10 when she filmed this film. Ah, I didn't know this. Here we go, where they fall onto the... This was really creepy. Well, see, in modern times, had they like slowed that effect down and see people moving and disintegrate, that would have that would be a lot creepier. Nurse Wilson's dress is meant to be symbolically the woman in the beginning at the asylum. Her dress is symbolically similar to that of the Wicked Witch of the West costume in The Wizard of Oz, so that was intentional. Uh-oh. Is something loosening there? You might experience turbulence. If you can feel yourself falling apart, can't you, like, I don't know, tighten up? Or, how's about you land the plane? This was no surprise, but this is Farisa Balk's feature film debut. She appeared in a few TV movies before this. So, I like the different... I can see the string. Oopsie daisy. He gets split in two, really? Anyway. In the late 50s, Disney had toyed with the idea of making an Oz movie of its own, using some of the Mouseketeers in the Mickey Mouse Club of 55. But they decided to make Babes in Toyland instead, which ironically starred Ray Bolger, the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz. The scene that we just saw where Dorothy falls onto the couch with a thud onto the Gnome King's mountain was done 11 takes. That must have been comfy. We got a lot of movie left. So, probably a good time to mention that Christopher Lloyd and Tim Curry were considered to play the Gnome King, while Louise Fletcher, Terry Garr, and Mary Steenburgen were considered to play Princess Mombi. Disney regular of the 70s, Don Knotts was considered to voice Bellina, and former Disney regular of the 60s, Dick Van Dyke, was considered to voice either Jack Pumpkinhead or the Scarecrow. Christopher Lloyd or Tim Curry would have been interesting choices, and they probably should have gone with one of those guys. Um, To create these stop motion puppets of the gnomes, Nicole Williamson and Pons Mar were photographed against a background grid. Vinton of Claymation fame then watched the footage frame by frame and actually manipulated the puppets based on the movements and expressions of the actors. So, very painstaking work. It's truly a labor of love. It's a shame. Like, I get that it's time consuming and probably like painful to go through, but it's a shame that stop motion is kind of a thing of the past. And it's one of the truest expressions of practical effects. I thought I was gonna say not the Gump. Where's this gonna go? How about that? As much as I do like the locations, haha, very brave. As much as I like the settings here, because to me they open the imagination to other like adaptations or how a potential remake could go deeper into the lore here. It is unfortunate that Walter Murch, the director, had scouted a number of filming locations to double as Oz in the film, but in what appears to be the backstage story of this film, last minute budget cuts forced the production to shoot almost entirely on sound stages and backlots. To me, I actually like the look of sound stages whenever sets are designed. I always think of the Company of Wolves. I love that look. That's an interesting addition to this. That's an interesting addition that the Emerald City was based off of stolen property. That's one thing that I absolutely can't forgive this movie for because that's a really bad looking scarecrow. The Gump's head comes from an animal from the Ozian forest. Therefore, it is a forest Gump. Badunch. Aw. Fariza Balk mentioned in interviews that her tears of joy when she was allowed to audition for the part of Dorothy. In her words, it was a really big thing for me even to get an audition for a real feature film. For someone like her that had like presence, I just wish that she was much more, how can I put it? Just had more of a pronounced career that, people saw the value in her. And I always understand when someone doesn't want it to be typecast, but still, my God, if you're gonna typecast somebody, Farisa Balk is would be someone to do it with. She actually performed her own stunts for the film. Her co-star Emma Ridley was allowed to use a stand-in for the dangerous scenes. So, the film introduces the character of Princess Ozma, the rightful ruler of Oz. She was introduced in the novel The Marvelous Land of Oz from 1904 and continued to play a major role throughout the novel series. At first, L. Frank Baum depicted Ozma as a regular human girl, but later retconned her into an immortal fairy, like a hybrid. Oh boy. Does she have to pick the correct does Dorothy have to pick the correct Holy Grail like in Indiana Jones The Last Crusade? So, Walt for the longest time, oh, that's creepy. The hands. Just shuffling along. So, for a very long time, Walt Disney Productions was and has always been very interested in this series. Oh God, these are like rock cakes and sulfur, I think. Anyway, so Walt Disney Productions acquired. Silver. Walt Disney Productions acquired the film rights to most of L. Frank Baum's Oz novels in 1954. Their only previous use of the rights was the unfinished feature film Rainbow Road to Oz. So by the 1980s, the film rights were. Ha 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 ha. That was a really good effect. And that was clever use of lighting. Anyway, by the 1980s, the film rights were about to expire. So by the time that Walter Murch proposed making another Oz film, the Disney executives figured that it was their only chance to use the rights before their expiration date. What a jerk. Well, that escalated quickly. Well, we're screwed properly. Thanks for that vote of confidence. Seriously, it's counterproductive, Jack. No kidding. What gave you that impression? Oh, I forgot about this chick. That's creepy. A chariot of the... I didn't even think of that or remembered it, to be honest. Again, guys, the positivity is overwhelming. You think so, huh? Haha. And also, I have a crick in my neck. Oh my god. Jesus. That's really good lightning effect. It's interesting how he becomes more human as the story progresses. He's smoking. What did I say? This this always weirded me out. God, how under how much makeup is this guy? Oopsie. All right, we're gonna cross the hour 20-minute mark coming up. They really should have gone with the belt. It's so weird. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we just hit the hour 20 mark, guys. Remember to hit the like button so this video gets passed along. And make sure to vote in the totem poll. So, Farisa Balk was permitted to work no more than 3.5 hours each day, restricted to between 9:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. So this period included breaks and private education tuition. They probably wanted to make sure that she didn't have to go through what Judy Garland had to go through. Just to show you how many girls auditioned for this role, Farisa Balk was one of the 600 girls from Vancouver which were chosen to audition for the role of Dorothy. She auditioned for the role in November of '83 and was hired December of that year. So the river scenes that we saw at the beginning of the film, that's actually a soundstage, and the water used was warm. Emma Ridley compared it to a hot jacuzzi. Yeah, he's down for the count, sweetheart. Emma Ridley played Ozma, the little girl princess. So obviously ah, th- that's smart. So yeah, like I was saying, the scenes with the Gnome King were obviously using clay animation, a form of stop motion where each animated piece is made of malleable substances. This method was extremely laborious in comparison to other animation techniques, as you could imagine. So what she just said right there, for TikTok not to cry, that was similar to when Dorothy told the Tin Man the same line before she returned to Kansas in the original film. What did he turn into? I really don't remember her involvement in the latter half of this movie. Tell him I had a long trip and I've gotta use the bathroom. I've got the skids. So obviously the film is dark and frightening. It was done to make this movie different from the 1939 film and make it darker, scarier, less colorful, and make it much more of a darker experience for Dorothy and the viewers. So the film's darker tone follows other 1980s sequels like Star Wars Episode 5, the Empire Strikes Back, the Star Trek II Wrath of Khan, well, both of which were darker in tone than their predecessors, something I hadn't initially considered. Wait, why is she getting a bunch of guesses? Her description of that's hysterical. Ooh. So, it turns out that according to the books, that the Gnome King became the most frequent villain throughout the entire book series, making his last canonical appearance in 1937. In his various appearances, he's mainly driven by either greed or the need for revenge. Strange that this version didn't have the wizard. Well, then again, I guess he had returned to. I guess he had returned to the real world anyway. Good guess. Uh oh. What? So in the books, Mombi is the deposed Wicked Witch of the North and a primary foe of the royal family of Oz. She was introduced in the L. Frank Baum book, The Marvelous Land of Oz, and never appeared again in Baum's work, but has been used by other Oz authors. Interesting. So, Farisa Balk was the second youngest of the approximately 1,000 girls who auditioned for the role of Dorothy. She was reportedly chosen because she had a physical resemblance to Judy Garland. I don't know who thought that. They couldn't look any more different. Oopsie. Birdcage for you. Feel free to white out any typos you see on the newspaper. Get me the hell out of here. I mean, I get that they needed something different for Jack Pumpkinhead, but they could have really not made Scarecrow look so goofy. Like, how is this a worse looking version than the 1939 film? And all hell just broke loose. Uh-oh. That's freaky. That reminds me of the claymation from the movie The Gate. Wow. There's a lot of this that I don't remember. Oh, wow. That is freaky and haunting. I could see how traumatizing that could be for a kid. Down the hatch. So the film intentionally, oopsie. What is up with chickens in this movie? Uh-oh. And all the raisins from the Raisinets commercials just melted away. So the film intentionally depicts Dorothy's transformation back to Oz as mysterious and like inexplicable. And Dorothy falls asleep in a raging river in Kansas, then wakes up, obviously, as we saw, in a small pond in the desert. And it seems to be the deadly desert, which surrounds Oz in the novels, the natural feature which cuts off Oz from the rest of the world. And Dorothy has no idea how she traveled there in her sleep, as we saw. Well, fare thee well. Explosions, really? So the original estimated budget for the film was 20 million. By the time that production finished, the budget had ballooned to about $28 million, and that doesn't include the 6 million that Disney spent in printing and advertising to promote the film. Ah, all is right in the world. No munchkins. That's another thing that I thought strange. Like, just the look of all the characters from the first film that are in this one, meaning obviously the trio, lion, the Tin Woodman, and the Scarecrow. I don't know. They just all like lion is an actual lion in this film. They all just look. It's. I mean, I understand as an adult why they did that, but as a kid, it was like just odd to me. Oh, that's right. I'm keeping it. Nobody touch it. Just chalk it up to a bender. TikTok. It's all okies dokies. Nope, still no munchkins. the fact that TikTok is shiny now and they're all at a parade. Was this inspired from Star Wars, I wonder? C-3PO. The lion is Chewbacca. Are they in Mombi's palace? I guess this is Oz. Oz proper, I think. Gaius. They just decided to hell with it with Scarecrow's body. Aw. Not really. You could just stay here and remain crazy. Doesn't that sound nice? Well, then you'd have a split personality. Oh, this is Mombi's shindig. She's so totally weirded out. It was inside you all along. No, silly girl, you did. Yeah, this particular character wasn't developed too much throughout this, so it's kind of like ineffectual. her her role here. It's so pretty. It's none of your damn business. That's a whole lot of exposition. Ouch. Any other insults you want to hurl at her while she's down? No. Jeez. Well, we could feed you to the lion if you prefer. Nice bow that they put on him. Aw. Sayonara. Okay, I forgot to mention we already crossed an hour 40-minute mark. So for the last time, if everybody could remember to like the video and vote in the totem poll what you thought of the film now that we've reached pretty much the end. I'm gonna like probably another 5-10 minutes left. back in the pond. A flute? What is that? Wow, her eyes really are emerald. Silly girl. Dust yourself off. Oh god, you're filthy and shoeless. Toto, you missed the whole acid trip. Oh god, you are filthy. Haha, funny. That was cute. Talking about hobos, what the hell? Like, I get that he's a farmer. Oh my god, she is in mud. I would have preferred had we not found you. One less mouth to feed. You know, winter's coming, you understand. As this scene went on, she just got even dirtier. No. Wow. That's dark. Back to take her to a new asylum. Is that Mombi? Yep. What did I say? Haunting stare from Farisa. Close the curtain and get back in your room. Jesus. The wallpaper match basically matches her wardrobe. Silly girl. Oh, we'll be having your precious chicken for dinner. We'll leave you a slice if you want. Oh, nothing. just another reason for you to consider taking me to an asylum again. I can't. Auntie-am, the voices. Lovely. All's well that ends well. Speaking of, and now our watch has ended. So, that was Return to Oz. Like I said, a solid film, I think. It's not... I usually don't like to use the excuse of, oh, you know, a budget got cut or whatever. That's why a movie didn't live up to its full potential. However, as I mentioned throughout this film, there were clear issues with the budget. Regardless, I think that it's a very solid film. One one thing I'd like to do whenever we end these films now, I like to give recommendations to other films that are like the ones that we just streamed. So, as I mentioned during this watch party, if you're in a mood for dark fantasy, I would recommend the following all 80s dark fantasy films: Willow, Legend, which was actually a Ridley Scott movie, The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy, and Company of Wolves. So I mistakenly referred to Leprechaun as the first movie to do a twist on fairy tales, but it was indeed Return to Oz that not only got there first, beating it by 8 years, but the darker tone of this film made it much more of a faithful adaptation to the L. Frank Baum book than the 1933 film. So I think I mentioned this during the Leprechaun stream, so excuse me if I am repeating myself, but the notion to me of dark fantasy is something that is very intriguing. I just think that obviously you would need to have creative minds and people who want to tell a good story and want to do justice to these classics that we know so well. But I think that horror has missed for a very long time a golden opportunity to do so. When we think of medieval horror, we obviously have the universal classics, the Gothic forefathers, as I refer to them as. You have your Draculas, your Frankensteins, and the like. But I think if we would adapt the grim fairy tales in the spirit of the dark tones that they were written in, I think that would go so far. I remember what was it? The girl from Freddy vs. Jason and Sigourney Weaver did a Cinderella story. I think it's Cinderella, a dark Cinderella story. So these were very prevalent in the 90s, where like independent movies were making dark versions of horror, of fantasy stories. There was Rumpelstiltskin, which was probably made because of Leprechaun. And there was one about Grendel, I think. That one was very low budget. It was such a crappy adaptation. However, I still think that there is a lot to be mined there, because it's not something that's ever been done accurately. For instance, Dracula has been done plenty of times, but we do have the definitive versions of it. I think that the 1992 Bram Stoker's Dracula is the best adaptation, but we've yet to have like a signature grim fairy tale adaptation, which I would very much love to see. Then you have Edgar Allan Poe, a rendition of The Black Plague, which also is ripe for adaptation. Edgar Allan Poe himself had written, of course, The Mask of the Red Death. But I do think that there is, and again, like I said, the twin fairy tale, or the fairy tale twins of fantasy when it comes to what have you, Oz and Wonderland. But this is it for the Easter Feast, or the inaugural Mind's Eye April horror event. Oof, this one was a beast. 3/4 of this month, 3 out of the 4 weeks, I was releasing content every day of the work week. It was a month of watch parties, anniversaries, narrations, live streams. I was releasing content every day of the work week. It was just. I ranted about franchises. I grieved about games. The month was dominated by a split between Alice Madness Returns and Evil Dead Rise. This April kicked my keister, and I genuinely hope that you all enjoyed the content. 'Twas a labor of love. I invite you to check out and relive all of the videos I posted, especially my Mind's Eye radio narrations of the Twisted Land of Oz. As far as this watch party, if you liked it, like the video and share it with your friends. If you hated it, be sure to subscribe to my channel and share it with your enemies. So, what is on the scene for the Mind's Eye? I do ask that everyone subscribe to my Clips channel, Mind's Eye Incisions, and my Rumble page. Both channels have had steady growth recently. I am working on still muting the lost episodes of the watch party, which include the likes of Scream 4, our Megan watch party, the original Orphan, Deep Rising, so I'll be getting to that. This week alone, last week, I posted my Evil Dead series rant. For the first time in Inkarnate movie history, I did a Inkarnate movie preview and reaction, which I called Precaution and Aftershock for Evil Dead Rise. As far as this week, Monday I did Twisted Land of Oz, the final chapters 8 and 9. Tuesday I posted Twisted Land of Oz, the alternate ending. Wednesday I did the final Alice Madness Returns round. Yesterday I posted my thoughts on the Scream 6 movie called Requiem for a Scream. So, as far as coming attractions are concerned, and again, this is the last anything I'm doing in April. May will be a new beast entirely. The Mind Games schedule of live streams will return to its regularly scheduled date and time. Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard, 5:30 PST. I'll have a special announcement going out on Monday as a major update, in fact, a channel update to the Mind Games going forward. I'd like to call it a game changer for the next horror event. So, I've had the winter stream horror from December to March, which led to the Easter Feaster of this month. And now, for the next 4 months, as part of Mind Games, we will have the inaugural Midsummer Night stream. So, when next the Mind's Eye Theater returns, spoiler alert, for the month of May, Traumadom and I have planned the Living with Chucky documentary, yes, a first for the watch party, most likely next Friday, May 5th. We're going to do Cocaine Bear the following Friday, May 12th, and then the 15th anniversary watch party of The Strangers from May 26th. I'm really looking forward to that one. As far as regular content that I'll be posting, I actually have 2 coroner's reports in the works, one for horror streaming, the other for scary movie releases, and I will be doing my official Evil Dead review. So, mark your calendars and say your prayers. I've been Inkarnate, offering a word of caution. Fear the worst, so long you recognize who's best. You're resigned to your fate? Time to subscribe to your fears.
Warn your friends. Warn everyone.